Hello everyone, this is part 17 of What If Naruto Got Lost During His Training TS, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure. At first Naruto was barred from entering the capital, not for being a foreigner, but for not reaching the standards of the city. So he shapeshifted himself into his Naruto form, with a few modifications. Since he no longer sported whiskers marks, his female form did not have those. She didn't have her hair up in pigtails either. She was also not a blonde but instead had ebony black hair. Her BS was smaller than they originally were, and she was a little bit paler. His female form was his tribute to Kitsune, his having one for most of his youth. He wanted to at least keep a part of that with him. She was an angel of death. Her kimono was black as pitch, the embroidered design being that of the sky at night, the thread that was used being silver. Her hair was styled in a half-bun half-ponytail and secured by a kanzashi, or hair ornament. There were very few true geisha, and Naruto was a ringer for one of those. She admitted that part of the look was also based on Tsukiko, but that wasn't really all that important. The guards of the city let her in without hesitation. If a tenchi really did come down from heaven, they believed her to be it. She made her way to the castle and tried to get an audience with the daimyo. Surprisingly, the first person that she encountered inside was the daimyo herself. It was not a lord like Naruto expected, but a lady. It was an instant audience. The daimyo was surprised to find someone who was actually more beautiful than her. Being a woman, jealousy reared its ugly head, but was controlled. She was curious as to why someone like Naruto would want to speak with her. Naruto explained that father, who lived in one of the other cities in the country, had kept her away from view. No one except for her relatives was permitted to look upon her, so one day she managed to run away. By doing so, she met a group of men who were searching for a young woman. Since she wasn't the one they were searching for, she asked them if they could escort her to the capital. Her beauty had been all that was needed to get them to escort her there, or so she said. When asked why she thought of using these men as an escort, she explained that she had heard rumors of raids in some other cities by other countries and did not want anything to happen to her as she made her way to the capital. Then the daimyo asked her why she wanted to get to the capital so badly. She answered that she had heard of the daimyo's beauty and wanted to actually compare herself to the daimyo. The daimyo was impressed with such honesty, and called over one of her attendants and had him compare the two women. He immediately stated that the daimyo was the more beautiful of the two, all the while staring at Naruto. At that blatant lie, he was immediately struck down by the daimyo, shoving a tanto through his heart. We both know who he thought was more beautiful. The daimyo said, "Was there any other reason as to why you would seek me out? I also wanted to learn from a woman with power. I have been sheltered for most of my life and am not that familiar with the way things work. I guess that is a somewhat believable reason. I'll tell you what, I'll let you stay here, in my castle for a few days. I need to make sure you really are who you say you are." "Thank you, my lady." Naruto, intentionally she didn't go by the name Rosuto, was then led to a room where she would stay for the next couple of days. The daimyo intended to send out some of her soldiers to find out if she really was from some other city, locked up against her will. If she was, then her entire clan would be killed on the spot. It was law that no other should be more beautiful than the daimyo. The daimyo would keep Naruto, who apparently didn't know anything, in her castle. She girl intrigued her. She planned on marrying the girl to her son, so that her grandchildren might be more beautiful. Such beauty would not be wasted. All the others that she had caught had been married off to the sons of the elites in her country. If the family could not be found, it would not matter. Once the servants that had brought Naruto to the room had left her alone, she created 10 kunoichi clones and ordered them to go snoop around for any prison or the like. There had to be something like that even in a country like Tenchi. Aside from the design of the buildings, another thing that set the country apart from the others was that the land was mostly desert, but in the city there was an abundance of food and water. The reason for engaging in war with the other lands was because, like Sakura, the country did not find ugly things worth keeping in the world. Simplicity and perfection made up the beliefs. That was only one reason. Another one was the men's thirst for violence. They openly took pleasure in seeing others in pain or suffering. After creating the Kunoichi clones, Naruto created 10 groups of 10 shinobi clones. After each creation of shinobi clones was created, she ordered each group to travel around the country and as much as possible create the illusion that the country was being plagued by the other nations as well as by bandit and mercenaries. The clones were free to use whatever jutsu they wished, but they had to make sure that the jutsu wasn't too obvious. They were also told to be on the lookout for any nomadic shinobi clans that might want a more permanent home. Lastly, she created a general clone, just one. This one would be in charge of setting up a base of operations somewhere out in the Sea of Sands. He would also establish a connection with Naruto's world. After naming the clone Magoi as well as wishing it luck, Naruto decided that it was time for her to sleep. A week after being allowed to stay in the castle, the Kunoichi clones returned with no information on any of the prisons, if there were any at all. But they did report that they had obtained information as to where the armor and weapons of the country were being mass-produced. They also brought information as to where the materials came from. The armor and weapons that the military used were produced in a city that was 3 weeks away from the capital, while the materials were sold to the country in exchange for glass and some of the lower-class citizens. Those people that were sold or traded for the materials were the only reported cases of slave trading that the country participated in. After bringing in that new Naruto had the clones returned to searching for any new information. The daimyo visited Naruto a day later to inform her that she would be marrying her son, the prince of Tenshi no Kuni. This news actually surprised Naruto. Maybe she was really too beautiful, too late to change appearances now. She had to find those suffering people that she instinctively knew existed, and fast. She did not want to get married, especially to some insane pretty boy. The fact that he was a guy didn't really cross her mind. When Naruto shapeshifted or transformed, he became that person. Sure, he was still himself deep down inside, but when he became a girl, he really became a girl, complete with all bodily functions. Ika had nothing on him, her. The day after learning of her impending marriage, Naruto was introduced to her fiancé. He had an angelic face, with an athletic build. He obviously inherited his looks from his mother, since the father paled in comparison to the son. She was introduced as Rosuto Naruto. She couldn't think up any other name that could be used as her clan name, so that was it. She was then told that she would move into the royal clan compound so that she could get to know her fiancé a little bit better. It took Naruto all her self-control to reel in her panic. Things were getting out of hand fast. Maybe this approach was not one of the healthiest ones that she had thought up. Those clones had better have found something else to work on fast, else she'd be stuck, married to a guy who was only doing that for her looks. At the end of that week, the Kunoichi clones arrived at Naruto's former room to give their report, only to find out that she was not there. The clones didn't panic right away. They got themselves to the undersand base that Magoi had built a few hours away from the capital. That's when they started to panic. Due to Naruto's having made so many clones, most of the ones that he created somehow gained personalities of their own. It was a bit creepy if he actually stopped and analyzed it. Oh, yes, Naruto had been playing God, in the sense that his clones were all somewhat altered. They were more like Tsukumagami than lifeless or soulless clones. Naruto was too exposed to the energies of the universe that it had affected the way he created clones. Sure, he could make them go poof, but he did that so often. There were times in the past that Naruto would secretly create cage bushins back in Konoha and have them henge into looking like older versions of himself and his original Naruto form, as well as younger versions and much older variants as well. He used to create a cage bushin family for himself. Well, now he literally had a clone family. This was one thing that Orochimaru had repeatedly failed to do, make living, breathing copies of himself. Naruto had a whole race created in his image and likeness, well, sort of, since most of them changed their appearances to become distinguishable as well as become a whole other person. So the clones were panicking. No big deal, Magoi would solve the problem. He was the general after all. But when even he started to panic, things didn't look too good for them. That was until someone stepped out of the teleportation gate. Hey, who's in charge of this operation? The person asked. The clones all stopped what they were doing when they heard the voice. When they saw the person, they realized who it was. It was Tamatsu. The general clone stepped forward to greet him. I am in charge. Well, you look like a bunch of headless chickens running around like you were when you got here. Hee, it's just that we've never encountered a situation like the one we are in now. Well, what's your name, and what's the situation? Gakai sent me over here to help out. We cannot find Naruto-sama. Who's that? And where's Rosuto? Naruto-sama is Rosuto-sama's adopted daughter, Magoi said, and sealed the fate of the specially modified ultimate clone that Naruto would have to create in the future to that would be his adopted daughter. Some clones just weren't as good as the original at coming up with plans and lies on the fly. Seriously? Tamatsu asked. Hi. Since when? Since the beginning. She was traveling with a separate group, and we met up with her here. Rosuto-sama left her in charge of this operation, and me in charge in her absence. Well, you're doing a poor job at it. Then I guess you'll have to lead us then. I'll act as your advisor of sorts, similar to those that help out Tsukiko-sama. Alright then, Tamatsu said. So what happened exactly? Naruto-sama had been staying at the daimyo's castle until recently. She personally infiltrated the capital. We received our direct orders from her, one of the Kunoichi clones stated. And you can't locate her now. What were you supposed to tell her anyway? We found the location of the slave pens, well, sort of anyway. Oh, where are they then? Underneath the city. The castle. Some other city. There are no facilities, so to speak. All the ones that are sold to the slave trade in exchange for materials and supplies are people of the lowest class in society. This country is by no means poor, but the source of all the materials used to produce their weapons and armor come from these slave rings. And, as I said, most of the ones handed over are people from the lowest caste in society. The individuals are mostly the physically weak, the women, the children, and some members of the noble clans. Even the royal clan donates some of its weaker members to the treasury. The country has a take no prisoners attitude in war. So what you are saying is that the slave pens are found in the city or cities that deal with the slave traders. Yes, and these people are brought there a few days prior to the exchange of goods. That these people are from all walks of life and that it is somewhat random. Hi. That makes our job a lot harder. How are we supposed to rescue people that willingly do these things? They don't exactly willingly do them. These people are mostly brought up into believing that when they are sold they are to be recycled into more beautiful things, or that these traders are going to somehow make them slyer in a sense. In some cases eunuchs make the best warriors. So how do we tell who to save, and who to let be? I really need Rosuto-sama's input. Well, he's not available, his daughter is missing, and you accepted leadership. Now lead, Magoi told him. So is there anything else that you've got? Well, not anything that would be entirely useful. We found out that Tenshi no Kuni does not believe in tea, they believe in outright S. Most if not all of the citizens believe that should they prove that they are weak, they shall welcome death or be traded off for materials that would help their country. Those that perceive themselves as less beautiful than most also accepts whatever. But there is a law in the country that states that no one, and I mean no one, should be more beautiful than the ruling family, much more so the daimyo herself. Most girls with unrivaled beauty are married to clan members of the noble and royal clans, while others are ked along with their entire clans. Well, that still doesn't help us now, does it? No, it doesn't. Tamatsu then took a moment to think before continuing. Have you found anyone who secretly opposes the government? Cause in Sakura the previous daimyo was imprisoned for wanting to stop the war. Is there anyone like that here? We haven't managed to find anyone like that. Well, when you do find someone, contact me immediately. That person will be the first one we extract, no matter who it may be. Hi Tamatsu-sama, the Kunoichi said before they vanished, which was an action that Tamatsu had not yet encountered. How did they do that? He asked Magoi. You weren't supposed to find out about that. Magoi, he said, is there anything else I need to know? None that I am aware of, sir, Magoi stated, but the look that Tamatsu was giving him forced him to say a bit more. There are a lot of things that you have not been told. The ability of those women is one of those things. Until Rosuto-sama's plan has reached its final stages, we, his people, are not supposed to leak too much information. So you're saying that Rosuto is capable of more things? That there are more than just dragons and battle puppets? Precisely. Great. Tamatsu-sama, before you allow dark thoughts to cloud your perception of Rosuto-sama, we still have a missing commander to locate. Right, his daughter. Is it possible that she may have just gone out for the day or something? Not possible, those 10 did not sense her presence. So they can sense when someone is around. Another ability I wasn't supposed to know about. Not exactly. Can you do that? Sense others' presence, I mean. Yes, to a degree. You guys really should teach that skill to the new guys like me. Compared to you lot, I'm still considered as new. How about you ask Naruto-sama when we find her? Let her decide. Quote. Fine by me. What would be the simplest way to find out where she could have gone? Well, you could disguise yourself as a beautiful girl and ask the daimyo herself, all the while sewing a fake story of woe, and that you had been a caged bird all your life and only recently escaped to seek refuge in the capital away from your oppressive relative. I doubt that I could pull that off. Well, we could always just attack the capital. During all the confusion we might be able to find her, somehow. Is it possible that she was ked? No. How do you know that for certain? Don't tell me that you can feel her life-force somehow. It's not that. It's something else. I'm not quite sure about it myself, but I definitely know if she had indeed SD. Fine, so go rally the troops, we march at dusk. Seriously. Hi. Then Magoi raced away from his new commander to gather the troops in preparation for the attack that they would be launching that night. Instead of wolves, the beast of choice was smilodons, also known as the sabertooths or battle cats. But those weren't the only critters that the army had at the disposal. The general clone in Naruto's world had sent over more than 10,000 vampire bats. These little guys had their genes manipulated in such a way that they were smaller than they should have grown into. Magoi returned to Tamatsu, when all the troops were prepared to deploy. How are we to go about this, Tamatsu-sama? What's our battle plan? What do we have at our disposal? Well, we have around 2,500 infantry, 1,000 cavalry, that's both rider and battle cat, 100 bat handlers, each controlling 100 bats, the blood-sucking kind, vicious things. Those are 10 assassins, but they're over in the capital right now. The rest of the staff, me, and well, you. You know, I've never seen the city where all of you come from. You mean to say you've never gone over to visit it? Never. Now back to the plan, Tamatsu said. From some other information our side has gathered, Tenshi are known as one of the more ruthless warriors on the battlefield. They are known to look like angels, but in reality make Tetsu's soldiers look human. Tamatsu then paused to gather his thoughts, and try and formulate a plan. Magoi, will your people burst into flames should any of them sustain a mortal wound or something similar? Yes, it's standard procedure for us. For you, yes, it's only you guys that experience those things. Back to the plan, Commander. One more question, are you still hiding our identity? Yes, sir. Alright, now I want half of the infantry to disguise themselves as soldiers from the other nations. They've already done that. I see. Well then, the disguised half will strike first. They are to charge into battle yelling like mad dogs that haven't had a bite to eat in a long while. I want the other half to get into the city and search all the structures for our missing princess. Princess. Yes, princess. Now where was I? He said. Yes. Next I want those battle cats to wait a few meters away from where the infantry will start their charge. They will serve as backup. And well, you can have those bats of ours feast on the blood of the living. That's it. Yes, that's it. With the troops that we have at our disposal, that's all I could come up with on such short notice. Right then. You give the orders, Commander. Tamatsu walked over to the standing at attention army. Then turned to Magoi. We are under the sea of sand, right? Yes, sir. How are we getting above ground? Teleportation gates, sir. Oh. Then he faced the men. Move out. Once the entire army was above ground, Magoi took charge. Form ranks, which was what the clone army proceeded to do. Cats take the rear, take out any that get through, our boys in black. Bats, as soon as our boys meet the defenders, you have permission to feast on the blood of the living. He then returned to Tamatsu's side. You're up, Commander, he said. Moving forward, Tamatsu faced his men, unsheathed his katana, then shouted the order, charge. The infantry raced off and did as they were supposed to. Their cries quickly alerting the city defenders to their approach, along with the rest of the city itself. The battle was the first time that the clones had actually encountered some samurai. Although these weren't the Bushido following people that Naruto was used to, they were samurai nonetheless. They were true masters of all their weapons. Who knew that these armor-clad men were the defenders of the city? They were a wall of steel that the clones were unprepared for. They were also the first opponents that the clone had encountered that could faintly detect the clones that were sneaking into the city. They were unable to pursue the infiltrators due to the onslaught of the 1,250 clones that were attacking like a pack of mad dogs. The residents of the city took up arms, donned their armor, and went to defend their city from the invaders. Leaving their homes unprotected, well, the only defenders that they left were the women and children, people who had no real way of defending themselves against the onslaught of the bats. 10,000 bats descended upon the city like a plague. They drank as much as their little boss could take, which was a lot more compared to their not genetically altered ancestors and cousins. None of their victims SD, but the loss of blood had weakened them enough to get them to drop to the ground unconscious. This suited the infiltrators perfectly. They were able to search through all the buildings. The only place that the attackers were unable to breach was the castle, and by extension, the royal clan compound, which was where Naruto was. Most did not join the battle due to their clan head and daimyo ordering them not to, while a small group would have been considered weak if it were found out that they did not enjoy battle as much as the rest of the populace. One of these individuals was the prince himself. The ruling clan of Tenshi no Kuni was the Uchida clan. Its head was Uchida Sadame. Her husband was just not suited to ruling, and had been laid off. The name of the prince was Uchida Mori, and he had fallen in love with Naruto the moment he laid eyes on her. He spent several hours trying to woo her but to no avail. She seemed as set against ever feeling anything for him. She even kicked him in the gonads when he got too close. The daimyo didn't bat an eyelash at that. To her, women seemed superior to men in the sense that they didn't have a blatant weak spot. Due to the chaos happening all over the rest of the city, Naruto was able to sneak her way out of the compound, but as she was about to make a break for it, someone grabbed her arm and spun her around. The person that had grabbed her arm was none other than Mori. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded an answer. "Just out. It's chaos. The capital's being attacked by who knows who, and you decided to go out," he shouted at her. Instead of saying anything else, Naruto promptly kicked him in the balls, and walked away while he fell to the ground in agony. Wait. Mori managed to shout out. "What?" she asked as she stopped walking and turned to face him. "Where are you going?" "Back." "Where?" "Away from this place. It's worse than Sakura and Tetsu." He managed to get back onto his feet, then he staggered over to her. "You've been to Sakura and Tetsu. And Nasu and Naya. Amazing. But what do you mean it's worse here than in those places?" "It just is, but not on everything, just most things. Why am I telling you this anyway?" "I dunno. Tell you what, if you stay, I promise I'll change how things are when I succeed my mother." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't approve of how my country is. There's a few of us actually. Please stay." "I can't. I still have things to do." "I figured as much, since you don't act like most of the girls in this country do. Mother knew that your story wasn't real. So what now? Come back with me, please." Before she could reply, the pair heard some rapidly approaching footsteps coming from the direction of the chaos. 3 of the shinobi clones and 5 of the kunoichi clones had managed to get past the castle and made their way to the compound, intending to see if she was in there. "Naruto-sama, thank Kami we've found you," one of the kunoichi said. "Step away from Naruto-sama Uchida team," one of the shinobi said. "Mori-kun, how about you come with me instead?" "What? But my mother, and the others. How can I change the country if I leave?" Naruto had received information as to what Magoi had told Tamatsu, through the nearly forgotten chakra link, which she noticed seemed to grow thinner, and smaller as time went by, but she didn't really pay it any mind. "Otu-sama will bring about change, for all 9 countries. You're Otu-san. Hi, so how about it? You can come with me if you wish." "Naruto-sama, there isn't much time, we're running out of time, it's almost dawn," one kunoichi said. "You lot go ahead, I'll catch up," she told the clones, who did as she requested. "Well," she asked him, "I really can't leave." "Suit yourself," she said as she left. Once Mori returned to where the rest of his group was situated, he was greeted by his mother, who was frowning. Apparently she had sent someone to follow him and make sure that he was not planning on joining the chaos in the rest of the city, but instead of finding him going to the city, her spy had found out that he was actually a traitor. Being her son, she would give him some time to tell his allies about his encounter and what he had learned. Her spy didn't stay long enough to hear Naruto mention her father, but the spy stayed long enough to hear about Mori's actual views and beliefs, which was why he returned to the daimyo to immediately inform her of such treachery. She suspected Naruto of being a kind of spy from the start, but there was no physical evidence to prove her guilt. But now that there was, the little bird had already managed to escape. Her son, on the other hand, was going to lead her to the other traitors, and once all of them had been found, there would be a public execution. Once Naruto finally got to the base, she immediately went somewhere that she wouldn't be spotted doing what she planned on doing. Being a girl for too long had caused severe mental problems for her real self, problems that were about to be solved. Naruto created a clone, one of those clones that Naruto created, the kind that he created when he played God, but instead of someone else's soul, he shoved the part of him that had become Naruto. Naruto stood there watching the birth of Naruto. It wasn't like the usual clone creation process, or the regular, playing God, type of clone creation process. It was creepier, for Naruto anyway, for it wasn't just a personality that he was implanting, or something like that. He was in a way splitting his very soul, and then mutating it in a certain way. His soul regenerated easily, as it didn't really lose anything, but creating the new soul was hard. Because he had to recreate his Naruto personality, that and add onto it, like create fake memories and the like. He then had to make her a hell of a lot different from him, in many aspects. After an hour or two of waiting for his daughter to fully mature into the woman that Mori had fallen in love with, the process was complete. Naruto was no longer Naruto playing dress up, she was an actual person now. He had a daughter, which was kinda weird. That was when he realized that he more or less had lots and lots of children. Not normal was normal for him, so he just accepted it, and didn't let it bother him. I am greatly bothered by what Naruto has done. His playing God is even creepier than some of the things I've done. Maybe the being will give me counseling. Kyonshi thought to himself as he watched Naruto analyze the situation of his student. Naruto used his clone's connection to inform all his clones about his daughter, except for his daughter that actually thought of herself as an actual person with a real history and stuff, and those other clones that didn't really need to know. Naruto and Naruko walked into cafeteria and made a beeline to where Tamatsu was sitting and eating some cereal with Magoi. So, how's it been while I was away? Naruto asked Magoi. Good, bad, bad, good. Welcome back Rosuto-sama. Welcome back Rosuto-sama. I'm sure Naruto has informed you about the plan that I executed. I really couldn't think of anything else. It was fine, some of my earlier plans were like that one. Oh. Okay then, coming from you that's really high praise. You're welcome. Now before we continue with the pleasantries, I need to get down to business. Sure. You're the boss after all. I know who we need to break out. Seriously. That's great news. Who are they and where are they? Rosuto-sama. Uchida Mori and his group of supporters. What? But he's like royalty in these parts, why him? He's like Sakura's former daimyo. I see, so when are we breaking them out? When they're about to get executed for treason. What? But execution? Why? They were found out during the attack. That's not nice, so do we have any info as to when? I'd estimate that Sadaime will find all the rats by the end of the month, which gives us 2 weeks to prepare. On the day of the execution, Naruto's Kunoichi clones informed the base when the rats were being led to the chopping block. After getting the information, Naruto used an AoE illusion to make the battle cats and the riders to look like regular horsemen. Then they all rode off to rescue the rats. Naruto went with them, Tamatsu and Magoi too. Just as Mori was about to meet the Shinigami, he was grabbed by something. A hand had latched onto his body. He noticed around his some riders that were swiftly snatching his companions. Everything happened in the span of a few short minutes. After the last rat was taken, chaos erupted in the city. Everyone was frantically trying to stop the rescuers from getting away with the traitors, but to no avail. Naruto's battle cats were just too fast, and when they got to the sea of sand, they just disappeared. The next thing Mori knew, he was sitting on the floor of the base along with his allies. In front of them were their rescuers, but one of them caught his attention, Naruko. She was just standing there in her black kimono, beside Naruto, who was wearing his special outfit complete with katana and kunai. Who? H how? Mori managed to stutter out even though he was still in shocked and surprised mode. Hello Mori-kun, aren't you glad we got you out of there? Naruto asked. Yeah, of course. You wouldn't happen to want to go rebel on your country, would you? Tamatsu asked them. We were already labeled as rats, so yes, sure, why not, Mori said. The rest of his group nodded in agreement. Welcome aboard, then Naruto pointed at Tamatsu with his thumb. Tomato over there's commander of this base. 'Cause I'm leaving for Komugi no Kuni in a few minutes. Hey, it's Tamatsu not Tomato. Anyways, one more thing before I go. Mori, I am aware of your intentions, so if you hurt her, Shinigami will be the least of your problems. After saying that, Naruto walked into a shadow, in full view of all the people present. Magoi, as much as I want to say, you have some explaining to do, I won't, cause that was just plain creepy. A second after walking into the shadow, Naruto walked out of another shadow. He found himself in a wheat field, one that didn't look like it was doing so well, but a wheat field nonetheless. That sure is a lot of wheat, only thing missing is the chocolate and the koala. Naruto mentally said. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.